assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen, ishbata.
Bakhair agale, ni hao, tuna shumme, washmale, ohio gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, boyor, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shuma chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suavi, balli kiraya. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning. Outside the fantastic, stunning, scintillating, superhuman or superhuman. Ladies and gentlemen, she happens to be Miss Shiza Hashmi. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. And we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Hello, Shiza. How are you doing today?
I think I'm doing better, especially after listening to my intro. Thank you
Wow,
so much for
thank
that. How are you doing? Because we know that you weren't so well yesterday. Are you better?
I think I'm coping up, and thanks to my parents because they never let me take a day off because I wanted to take a day off today, ladies and gentlemen.
I know.
I wasn't really very well, and you know what happens is that when you're on the hot seat, you're really supposed to wear the talkback. But unfortunately, you know, since the infection is in my ear, so I cannot even listen to my producer. I don't know whether it's good or bad, but I feel great and I want each and every one of you to feel great as well. What about you? How was your morning?
My morning was good, sort of. I don't know, lately I haven't been able to catch up on my sleep.
Okay.
I don't know why though. Okay. So I'm always struggling waking up and always being late to work as well. But all's good. I mean, all's well that ends
so
well
let's
as
dig
well.
in. Why are you not able to sleep perfectly well?
Because I feel like for the past 10
What's
to 20
on your mind?
days, no, nothing's on my mind.
Okay.
For the past 10 to 20 days, I was in a family wedding and then there were so many things going on. So we were all hardly sleeping.
Okay.
And now I feel like I've caught up onto that routine as well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So with the morning show where you have to wake up before 6 even, I think it's a little hard for me. I'll get back on track, you guys, don't you worry. But I
Wonderful.
hope and pray that you are going to have an amazing day along with us because this show is along with informative, it's going to be so much fun. I promise you that.
Exactly. So let's
Before
make it more
that,
fun.
yeah.
Let's make it more fun because this is something I wanted to talk about. So
Okay.
just yesterday, I read her tweet on Twitter and she said
Embarrassing.
that I cannot literally, I mean, it was on Twitter. How can it be embarrassing? You know, it was
I
for
get
all
it.
of those people out there. So she said, I cannot still keep the count of how many variants of COVID are out there. And then at the same time, I cannot understand what's going on in PSL. So what did you watch the match yesterday?
Well, I got it just when Multan Sultan was winning.
Wow,
Right?
you did a great job, yes.
So why don't you tell me what happened because I literally just got it at
Sure,
the
why
end.
not? You know, so it was a fine battle in between Karachi Kings and Multan Sultans, ladies and gentlemen, where Karachi Kings batting first gave away a target of 174 for the loss of 6 wickets, and Multan Sultan obviously looked as if they're going to have a little bit of problem or trouble as well. But towards the end, after Tim David and Rizwan, I think that Khushdil did a great job. Khushdil was actually the one who actually brought the victory back home as well. And while on the field, we saw Mr. Wasim Akram, who happens to be the coach you know, he's a part of the administration as well for Karachi Kings, kind of having a hard talk with Babar Azam, and you know, certainly the fans didn't like it. And talking about Mohammad Rizwan, he was the player of the match, 76 of 56 as well. Sharjeel Khan, 36 of 34 deliveries. And Babar's LBW by Roman Reis, ladies and gentlemen, was one of those match-turning moments for us as well. Even initially, I think Multan did really bat well, but towards the end where it was only somewhat around 16 deliveries left and 33 odd score, and they were able to bring it back home. I feel really very sorry for Karachi Kings for not having won a single game in PSL as of now as well. And you know, when we talk about this, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow even is going to be a double header on Friday. Nobody expected that. So talking about that, obviously there's going to be a match in between Multan Sultans and Quetta Gladiators. And on the other hand, on Friday, it's going to be Lahore Qalandars versus Karachi Kings. And today, you know it, right?
Well, brilliant. Thank you so much for updating me and my audience.
No problem. I'll always do that. I love cricket, and you know, when we watch PSL, the best part is that I feel like playing cricket, but I do not have enough human resource at my place, and you know that I should actually get somebody to bowl or bat, even if I'm bowling as well. So you know, and it naturally happens. You know, the sport you're keen to watch, you eventually feel like playing it.
That is so true. And you know, street cricket used to be a thing of my childhood. Not that I would necessarily be a part of it, but I love to field. I'll be like, just make me a part of the team. I'll be there because it
Wow.
was so much fun, right?
Can you catch? Can you catch the ball?
I can catch, I can bat, and I'll bat as long as, I mean, I can. Not in a good way, but probably forcefully. But do you think it still happens? I don't see a lot of children now going out in the
A
street.
lot of children are playing street cricket these days, Shiza, and all you need to do is that, just at somewhat around 4:30 or 5 p.m. in the evening, you just need to go towards the northern strip of E11, where you live. Even though that you can actually see it from your building.
From my window, yes.
But if you can take out some time, you will see that. And then, other than that, there are a lot of kids who are actually playing cricket, that too in clubs where it's hardball cricket. We have kids as young as 5 years or 6 years old who are playing hardball cricket as well, because they aspire to be cricketers one day and they want to represent Pakistan.
That is absolutely super. And you know, we always love it, Shazad, you and I, whenever sports is sort of promoted, especially among youngsters, because the amount of, or rather the kind of effect it has on your mental health, it is just absolutely great.
True.
Which also makes me think we should probably talk about the highlights of the Olympics going on as well. So let's take a look at the table. I mean, who's taking all the gold medals? I don't know. I'm going to give out
it's
all the good
fight.
news
it's
as well.
It's a close fight, all right, but that's not the table for Olympics. That's the PSL points table as well, where Multan Sultan's on the top, Lahore Qalandars is number 2, Islamabad United number 3, Peshawar Zalmi number 4, and Quetta Gladiators number 5, Karachi Kings on number 6. After losing every single match in this PSL season 7.
All right, that was that. Definitely, if you do tune into PTV World any time of the day, you can catch all the highlights or all the updates on the sports events, especially on Olympics too. So we'll leave that to the newscasters. But now, coming to what we are doing on our show today. Oh my God, so this story that we're bringing forward to you is absolutely inspirational. Shazad and I are motivated, moved, inspired, definitely, and sort of questioning ourselves on what we are doing too. Well, on a lighter note, I'm saying that because the person we're going to be in conversation with today happens to be a young, brilliant mind, hailing from Pakistan, of course, settled abroad, but making a huge name for Pakistan in the film industry. And I mean, sort of also changing the face of how films are directed and produced. Should we get into it?
Exactly. So in addition to that, ladies and gentlemen, imagine that, that you actually have somebody who's actually producing films, in fact, directing films, a filmmaker, ladies and gentlemen, and that too for Disney and so many other amazing platforms. And not just that, whenever we're going to talk about her, ladies and gentlemen, we certainly need to kind of talk about all the awards she has taken, and that too in a short span of time. And it was so hard for me to remember the names of all of those awards as well, which is why we would want it from the horse's mouth as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've been joined by a writer and a director, and she is the one and only Miss Aqsa Altaf. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you on the show, even though that, there's a lot of distance in between you and us. But thanks to technology. How are you doing today? How's the weather over there?
I am good. It's actually, it rained yesterday and today it's sunny. So it's been really like 2 different weathers between 2 days, but it's nighttime here. So I'm just enjoying my evening here.
Oh, that's wonderful. But for filmmakers or directors or writers, such kind of weathers do inspire them to do quite a lot with their cameras or whatever they think they wanted to do. Because when the sun is setting or the rain's falling, that's where I think slow motions do come in. So what do you think when you actually have lovely weather out there?
It's actually really good weather when it rains to write. Like you want to sit home, cozy up, and like think of ideas to write. So it was a perfect time for me to write. These last 2 days, that's what I've been doing, writing a script.
Wow, that's wonderful. But first of all, obviously, because we couldn't really remember all the names of all of those awards you won yourself. But can you please take out a minute and tell our viewers in 46 different countries that which awards have you won and how many of them and what did you do to get them?
Sure. Well, I just directed a short film for Disney called American Eid, which you did a really nice kind intro to, so thank you. So American Eid is a story about this 9-year-old girl, Amina, who immigrates from Pakistan. And she wakes up on Eid in her new home in America and finds out that Eid is not a holiday here and that she has to go to school. So it's a culture shock for her, you know, because we always show movies about like culture shocks when Americans come to the other part of it, but when people from our part of the world come to America, we also have culture shocks.
Yeah.
She just goes on a mission to make Eid a public holiday, you know, and that was a very special movie for me to make, and one that holds a it's very personal for many reasons, you know,
Okay.
because when I first immigrated here, Eid, I had nobody to celebrate Eid with. I was so alone. So I had to go out and like tell everybody about Eid and I had to make it relevant. So that's where my filmmaking journey kind of starts. It's always to bring awareness, always to tell our stories for us, by us. And I feel like that's been really missing in mainstream media specifically, especially for Muslim stories, for South Asian stories, and Pakistani stories. So in
Correct.
terms of awards and stuff that I have gotten, I got nominated for the Young Director Award at Cannes. I got
Yes.
shortlisted for BAFTA awards, and then I was at American Pavilion for Cannes. Then I went to a bunch of festivals, South by Southwest, Santa Barbara International Film Festival, and I'm just continuing the journey.
Yeah. And you know, we certainly want to congratulate you and we certainly want to promote you because the kind of work you're doing over here, we certainly think that, you know, that people need to know it over here. But
Yeah.
talking about cultural shock, you know, so you weren't born in the United States of America, you were born to two different parents from very different walks of life and from very different origins, and then you moved to US, obviously the cultural shock needs to be there. But when we talk about United States of America or their films or Hollywood in particular, I mean, I think it's beyond cultural shock. So imagine that the films which are coming out are Iron Man, Spider-Man, Superman, Ant-Man. So it's all man, 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 man. You know, so how did you kind of try to fit in American Eid?
Well, the thing is, the main thing for me is yes, the man aspect is so true. The other thing is just the portrayal of Muslims. You know, I feel like in mainstream media, the portrayal of Muslim has just been so negative, and it's always been from a very Western lens. So I just wanted to celebrate what's special about us. What's like something that we do in our normal lives with our families, with our friends. It's important to show people the human side of Muslims. You know, it's very, very important because that's completely deprived in Western media. It's always the extreme ideologies that has nothing to do with Islam is always shown as what the Muslims are and Islams are. And every time we are on film and TV, we're either portrayed as terrorists or are violent or are victims. So I wanted to tell a story where we are heroes and we're celebrating something that's very meaningful to us and just humanizes us and normalizes us in the Western lens. And that was very important to me. And obviously, there is also the stereotype of a suppressed Muslim female, which is very common in the Western media. And I wanted to break that stereotype because Muslim women are the strongest, and all the Muslims in my life have been the strongest women I ever know. And I wanted to show their spirit, their fire, you know, their leadership. And this is why I wanted to make Amina a little girl who goes out and, in her own way, uses her superpower to make Eid a public holiday.
And that's definitely so unique, the idea in itself, which is why probably it's getting the recognition too.
True.
Thank you for doing that because this will go down in history, changing the face of how Muslims are presented, especially in Disney Plus as well, and you being a woman doing that. But now, Aksa, you spoke about your inspiration, of course, where you're getting the ideas from the strong women in your life. But did you study to be a filmmaker? Were you were you experienced for it as well, or was it just something that came by nature?
I did not. I originally thought growing up I would be a doctor, and then I changed it to I wanted to be an engineer and I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted at one point work for a nonprofit. There were so many things I wanted to do, and I realized at the bottom of it, if I had to like pick the common denominator, I wanted to tell stories. Either, you know, and even in my science class, I was fascinated with the story behind why a theory exists. So that was so I wanted to tell a story that I wanted to tell stories and also like really focus on social awareness. That was like a main, like how to bring justice to all the injustices happening around the world. And that stems from my personal experience. So I grew up in Kuwait. My mom and dad, my Ami and Abu, they migrated to Kuwait as migrant workers. And we were in Kuwait, you know, if you know how migrant worker situation in Kuwait is, there's a lot of injustices happening. And growing up, I wanted to bring awareness to that. I just did not know how. And, you know, telling stories is the best way to bring social awareness because you can put a message inside inside entertainment, and then you can make people think, wait a second, what's happening is wrong. This is not right. You never preach to the audience. You never tell them what to think. You tell a story as truthfully, as honestly, and then they come to a realization about what's good or what's bad.
Absolutely, and you're doing that. I know you have a question. Just a small comment, because just for all the people who didn't know what Muslims celebrate or what the lifestyle of Muslims is, and especially in the States, when the kids are going to watch your film, I'm talking about American Eid over here. Of course, you have produced so many of them, mashallah. But that's how they're going to learn about it. They're going to be curious. They're going to be inquisitive. Go back home and tell their parents, do you know what Eid is? Do you know my friend celebrating Eid? And that's what cultural appropriation is. Thank you so much for doing that.
Exactly, and just
that's the way. But that's the way people are gonna know what it is, because kids get bored when they have to learn in a textbook. But when they see a story, a movie, they learn so much more than they would ever.
Which is why what I wanted to ask was that, when we talk about filmmaking or somebody who writes or directs herself as well, obviously, first of all, it's wonderful that you write yourself, and then the person who actually writes whatever he or she thinks or feels. And if they get to direct it the same way as well, I think it's a blessing in disguise anyways. Yes. But now what I wanted to ask was that, for filmmakers, for example, over here we have had filmmakers who, by projecting the negative image of any country, would rather be shortlisted in an award show or probably award ceremony, even if you talk about Oscars as well. But you, on the contrary, have chosen a line for yourself where you wanted to depict or kind of visualize how people or Muslims do kind of meet and greet each other, and that too on the day of Eid, or what Eid is to us. It's wonderful. But do you want to continue with that line, or do you think that, that your topics or the kind of films you want to share with the world are going to change? Because a lot of people do kind of want to work on fiction, fantasy, and there's so many other subjects as well. How are you planning to go ahead in the next 5 years?
I think it's very important for us, because you see mainstream media, you mentioned Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. What is the common denominator there? There is the lack of representation in the superhero world. Wouldn't it be like Miss Marvel is a good example? She's going to be the first Muslim superhero in the Marvel universe that's going to come out this year. And that's the kind of stories I want to tell. I want to put Muslims and South Asians and Pakistanis and Sri Lankans and everybody that I do not see on TV, I want to put them in roles like that. So that way we become more normal. So our stories aren't about just like negative stuff like terrorism, or either it's not always us grappling with the identity. It's just us being normal humans going through human emotions. And I think that's important to normalize. Because I would love to see more superheroes that are Muslims and Pakistani.
So, just because you're mentioning about Muslims and how they need to be superheroes, have you ever heard about Burqa Avengers?
Oh, yes.
I have not. Oh, wait.
Yeah, you need to check it out.
Is that in Karachi?
No, it was over here in Islamabad. I mean, we do kind of take it as the entire Pakistan. But to be very honest, I think Aaron Haroon, the singer himself, did a great job, and he won several awards as well. And it's a Muslim lady, and that too in a burqa, who's actually trying to protect everybody. So you really need to kind of see that as well.
It's a comic series.
That's amazing. I'm going to check it out for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. It was definitely a pleasure to be in conversation with you. We wish you the best of luck for all your future endeavors. Inshallah, whenever you launch something new, make sure to come back to us, and we'll share it with the audiences, definitely.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And Shahzad, this is the thing about inclusion, though. While definitely we really, really appreciate the work and the effort or the skills that Aqsa herself has, but the content she produces in terms of inclusion, it's so important.
Exactly.
And it's 2022, and finally when Kanayari, the Balochi song, it came out, I'm not a Balochi, I'm a Punjabi, but the thing is, it made me feel so good, because it's a part of Pakistan, a language of Pakistan that we usually do not come across, but we should at least know the basics of. Exactly. Now imagine just this one song or just this one video is actually making millions of people Google Balochi, Google the translation, learn the words of the language. So next time, whenever they meet a Balochi, they'll be appropriate to
exactly. So the reach is going to be manifold, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the kind of work everybody's supposed to do to make sure that everybody reaches out to the world as well. Yeah. But very quickly, since you spoke about Balochi, obviously when we talk about Sindhi, Dado Suto, when we talk about Punjabi, Ji Ainu, when we talk about KPK, Mata Saramina Kumde, when we talk about Gilgit-Baltistan or the northern regions or these are Jammu Kashmir, obviously there's a lot of variation in language, and Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, is actually home to more than 72 languages, which is why I actually want to kind of test Shiza's Punjabi today, because she said that she's a Punjabi, so I think it's about time that we kind of do like a question answer session in Punjabi. You ready?
All right. If you do it in Punjabi, I'll be able to react better.
All right, so let's do it. Hanji, ki haal hai kidda?
ठीक ठाक तुसी सुनाओ
मैं भी फिट है किधर चले हो
चंगा चंगा ਅਸੀਂ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੇ ਚਲੇ ਆ ਲੇਡੀਜ਼ ਐਂਡ ਜੈਂਟਲਮੈਨ ਅਸੀਂ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੇ ਚਲੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਥੋੜੀ ਦੇਰ ਬਾਅਦ ਮਿਲ ਕੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਆਵਾਂਗੇ
Yeah, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually heading out towards a short break and we'll be right back together. That's what she said in Punjabi. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Good morning. Right, Mithra Sajjano Gwandiyat Kabeli, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying tuned to PTV World. You're definitely watching World this morning, where we were actually trying to share that, hey, you know what, when for all of those people who think that they cannot reach out to the world, imagine Coke Studio came in, made sure that they're going to make people sing in their local languages as well, and imagine the reach, so the world is now actually looking on Google, that too for Balochi songs, and it's wonderful, so you listen to one, and then obviously the results are, because of artificial intelligence, the results are going to pop in over and over again, and you will be well known to Balochi songs.
Definitely so, and it's not just Pakistani people doing the search, right? It's coming from all over the world. Within a few hours, Eva B's song actually got millions of views, and that was the most viewed in Coke Studio then. I'm not sure about right now, because of course newer songs keep coming in. Of course, they're even better, if not more.
So today I actually have a question for you, Shiza. So we often talk about how we really need to unlearn and then learn new things as well. And we really need to get rid of all the old softwares and install new ones, and make sure that we're up to the mark, because every day when you're presenting, you really need to know what's happening in the world as well. So how do you make sure every single day that you're going to be on top of your game?
Okay, so other than the research that we do for the show, I'll tell you about...
Which you're very good at.
Oh my God, it's a take, you guys.
It's an internal joke, yes.
But thank you. I think we both.
It's a compliment, yeah, it's a compliment.
Thank you. But the thing is, I think it's sort of a hobby now. I am exposed to, and I consume a lot of media content in terms of movies or TV shows, documentaries for that matter, news pieces for that matter. I mean, even if I'm eating something, I want to put John Oliver on so that I can catch the latest news of what he's shared. So that way, and Shahzad, it's not just that. So for example, if the 23-minute episode of John Oliver we're watching, there's going to be at least 4 to 5 things that will intrigue your, intrigue your interest. Yes, definitely. And then you're going to Google them. and then you're going to Google the further things. It's just sort of a loop, right? Why we say the information that we lately have is so overpowering. It definitely, takes a toll on our mental health.
True.
I think we still have it in our hand to control the type of information we consume, don't you think?
It is, but usually, because it's a habit now as well, if you, God forbid, if you have to take your parents or probably, your sisters to the tailor, obviously you're not going to step outside the car. Well, what are you going to do? So you have no other choice, but you're going to be on your cell phone.
Right.
Rather talking to somebody or probably stalking someone or probably posting up your new pictures. So imagine what happens is when, there's a long longevity of you consuming all of that, it's hard to absorb at times, and then half of the time what I try is I try to watch useful things. For example, Ellen DeGeneres, this is something which I would love to watch even while I'm eating. I would always want to do that because I always wanted to host entertainment shows. Hence, alhamdulillah, that's what we're doing as well. But Shiza, what happens is that, when you start to, because there's this research which came out recently, and we can share the details on our Facebook page or Twitter as well, and it said that, in children who are actually so prone to watching videos on iPads or probably all of those television or devices which are available to them or on YouTube, they are more inclined towards self-harm, and there are more cases of suicidal thought processes that too within those kids who actually consume a lot of videos. And to talk about this, we certainly believe that we really need to kind of share that how we can avoid and what are the early symptoms of, God forbid, if somebody's thinking to self-harm. Because what happens is, Shiza, and I've gone through it myself, that there are days when you think, hey, you know what, everything's good in my life, alhamdulillah, I'm healthy, I've got money to spend, I have, alhamdulillah, lovely parents, kids, wife, everybody's around, but I don't feel happy. And I actually kind of need to make myself happy then by saying that the only point where I'm not happy is because of the fact that I'm not thankful enough to Allah Almighty. And then I start to make sure that, there's gratitude in my heart and that I thank Allah Almighty for everything I wanted in life. I have it, alhamdulillah. That's the point where my thought processes will change. But everybody does encounter such feeling of being a little low on their energies as well. And I'm sorry.
No, I mean,
something came out of my mouth, so which is why I said I was sorry. Yeah,
definitely fine. But Shazad, you know what? It's where you say that you have to remind yourself and be thankful for all the things you have. That's definitely a brilliant approach. But it is okay. It is totally all right.
And it's difficult at times to kind of come out that process.
Definitely, it's a loop. I mean, it's an abyss sort of. From if I were to explain it in words, I feel like whenever the lower side of you or the lower phase hits you, it's sort of an abyss, and there's only going down. It's a downward spiral rather. There's only going down. There's no coming up. But you guys, if any of you are feeling this way, let me tell you, Shazad, it's totally all right.
Okay.
You're only human. We can feel that. We have a brain, we have a mind that works a certain way. We have chemicals and hormones in our body that are supposed to perform a certain way. Not necessarily it's going to be positive always. While things can be negative, why don't we get together to sort of learn how to deal with that negativity or how to deal with that part of your life which is not in your control? And to talk about that, I think we have someone very special. But one quick thing, because I really don't want to say anything wrong in here, but there was a research of how violent video games really bothers children. But now, technically speaking, there are no researches of how media content can make a child violent. But yes, definitely there are researches of how it can sort of trigger your complexes or trigger your, traumas for that matter, which can make you self-harm, like
exactly.
you said.
And you're very right, because while I was growing up, I used to watch Ninja Turtles quite a lot.
And you wanted to be Ninja Turtles?
And imagine, so I actually had a what do we call it, a sweater or a jersey, so which had Ninja Turtles all over it, printed.
Right.
So what I would do is I would wear that jersey and climb onto somewhere higher and then jump down. I mean, obviously, it does kind of come under the umbrella of self-harm, even though if I want to be a Ninja Turtle, I might not even have the physical capacity to do so. So why are we doing that? How do we refer to that behavior if there's somebody, a kid in particular? Ladies and gentlemen, we really need to help them. How can we help them is something which we will be discussing now. Alhamdulillah, first of all, we would kind of talk about how to, or what kinds to look, different behaviors we need to look into, God forbid, if your kid is more inclined towards self-harm. And to talk about that, we're actually very lucky that we've actually been joined by a consultant clinical psychologist. She happens to be Ms. Halima S. Qureshi. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for inviting me over here for this lovely topic and the discussion. And I really enjoyed your conversation back there, the way you held up about talking about mental health and all the children researches and all
Thank
that.
you.
So I'm really impressed that you
Oh,
are
thank
so
you very
much
much.
into the
Thank you
mental
very
health.
much.
We are, you know what,
Yeah,
thank you
that's
so much
so
for
great.
saying that, but we definitely are. Because while Shazad and myself, on our individual level, we might also face bad days, which is only natural.
Yesterday it was for me.
Oh, I hope you're better now.
Yeah,
And
alhamdulillah.
I
A
would
lot of
agree over
people-
here for me as well.
Right?
Because we are
Everyone.
psychologists and we are humans as well.
Right.
Yes.
So a lot of people actually write to us. I don't know about you, Shazad, but on our page, especially and on my individual pages, a lot of people reach out. And it always makes us think as a team that we need to do shows on this. So you're here for that. And you actually had your research, your PhD research done on self-harm, which is such an important topic. So thank you for being here. Let's start with what self-harm, what accounts as self-harm.
Actually, the self-harm, when we are talking about, if we are talking about different ranges of the ages, like we are talking about adolescence, if we are talking about children, as Shahzad just pointed out, that exposure to the media, exposure to the violent video games, or some sort of such stimulation which is that much stimulating the brain chemistry,
Okay.
or the person that he is or now attuned or he is habitual to that level of stimulation. So when they get out into their real life and they don't get that much stimulation, because our real life is not that much stimulated as much it is on the screens or everywhere we are going to play that. So that stimulation, when they need that in their real life, that going to triggers that they have some fascination, they need some they need some excitement in their life. So that could, if they are not going to find that, they will miss that and they will try to find ways how they could achieve that.
So in layman's word, in trying to make sure that you know that our audiences follow what you're trying to say is, so imagine that while I'm playing PUBG, if I am
Right,
playing,
right.
so I will obviously have a release of dopamine in my brain, and you know it's going to
Exactly.
kind of stimulate my activities, and I'll be like, oh, you know, I need to do this, I need to do that.
exactly.
So imagine in real life, if you do not have such a trigger, how do you think you will feel happy? Because dopamine kind of takes you towards being happy as well.
Right.
So how do you think that we can replace that trigger of while we're playing PUBG, that dopamine is being released? How can we release it in normal days? You know, so how can I do it even now? Even though I think that there's an overrush of dopamine in my brain as of now, but how do we do that?
Yeah, and we can also say that there is an adrenaline rush that they want to feel in that sort of games. So they could artificially achieve that as well from playing those games. So in real life, I could say that making their life more exciting and limiting the time of that stimulation, because they were habitual for that much stimulation, because they were addicted maybe, or they were exposed for a longer duration of time. As we say that excess of everything is bad, so excess of that stimulation makes it a habit. If they are going to use it for 2 hours or something like that and 24 hours a day for adolescents, for children it's much lower duration, that they will not be that much stimulated. So in their real life, they will be happy with their friends, they will be able to compensate all those energy in their socialization, in their outdoor activities, because we are very unfortunate, and the present generation is very unfortunate that they don't have the avenues for outdoor games and outdoor time.
I mean, at least in Islamabad, I'm going to disagree with that, but okay, you know, there are a lot of cities where we do have a lot of parks and people really need to go over there, but people do not find it interesting to take their children to parks because there's nothing for them to do over there. You know, if there was something for parents to do at a park, they would certainly leave their kids in the park and do whatever they want to
But
do.
even couples don't go. I mean, because of a military background, I feel like, Shahzad, on a daily basis, walking was a part of our routine, or going to a park, or exercising for that matter. And now I keep begging my husband, I'll walk pichale. He's like, tum jao. I mean,
You're asking the wrong guy,
That's
probably.
true, that's true.
so it's definitely, you know, it's not a habit anymore. But coming back to, so are you saying that bad time consumption is also self-harm, or it leads to self-harm?
It could lead to self-harm, because when they are not going to get out their emotional energies as well, and let's not just focus on media. There are a lot of other aspects
Sure, go ahead,
which
share
can
them.
trigger, yes, which can trigger the self-harm as well. The other things are related to emotional and psychological well-being of the person.
Alright.
The adolescents, then when they are having the competition sort of thing in their social circle, and when they are going to school, there is some sort of materialism that which is very much focused in our society right now. So they want to compete on that status value as well. And that competition on the socioeconomic status, or struggling to show that we have something in our own self, the uniqueness in our own self. So that aspect of adolescence, and in adolescence, this is for the first time in the person's life that they achieve that aspect of uniqueness, that they want to achieve that uniqueness. And that stage is so much sensitive in a way that they don't know a lot of other aspects, but they know we know everything. So that is a very dangerous spot. And they are on the edge of everything because they can't understand the consequences of the things, but they are at the edge of the cliff that they understand that we know every aspect of our situation.
And that's what I wanted to talk about, because I do see, you know, Alhamdulillah, I have 3 lovely daughters, and they're always very wonderful. But till the time you're listening to what they want, and all of a sudden when you do not give them what they want, they're not more inclined, alhamdulillah, they're not inclined towards self-harm, but they're inclined towards daddy harming as well. You know, so what they would do is, what they would do is that all 3 of them will get together, start hitting me, you know, probably how kids do as well. So do you think that that's something to be worried about? Or we should only be worried about self-harming?
I guess
there's a lot of daddy harm I have taken so far.
Just to mention, they're toddlers. They're not.
Obviously.
All right. I guess they are so lucky to have such a father, first of all. And after all, if they are going to reach, when they are going to reach their teenage, if that is going to sustain,
then it's a problem.
Then it will be much better because they have the avenue.
The problem with the youngest one is that she knows how to hit, so she hits with her knuckles. She hits like that. And I'm like, man, I don't know who's teaching them. And then I look at my wife, and then I'm like, okay, you know, probably that's where it came down from. But okay, how bad do you think that self-harm can get? And at what point do you think that we really need some medical attention or help?
Self-harm is actually always very secret, mostly always very secret. Most of the cases, they don't let their family know, don't let their friends know that they are doing self-harm. And there is another part of self-harm where they want their peers, their friends, their family to know that they are doing self-harm, but that self-harm is just to showcase. That is just to showcase, to use that self-harm for their own ends, for their own benefits, to manipulate their relationships, to manipulate some things they want.
The blackmail.
Yes. So this is one aspect, and the other aspect, which is secrecy, we are talking about. In secrecy, when the child is involved, when the adolescent is involved in the secret self-harm, then that's a very serious consequences. We cannot estimate that how many cases in the emergency wards of the hospitals we used to experience because of the secrecy of that self-harm, because sometimes that self-harm could went wrong, and it could lead to very serious consequences, endangering the child's life or adolescent's life. So the reasons behind that, which you might be asking, that what are going to be causes of that. So the first thing is peer pressure, the competition in the society, if their wishes and demands, within the family and at home, because adolescent is more concerned about home and the peer. So they want some standing over there, they want some say over there, and they want their more importance.
Oh, mommy, look at she's got all the dolls. I want some as well.
But you know, it's the purpose of discussing this, and thank you for being so well versed as well. You brilliantly explained it. Is definitely awareness. You know, it's about an image, definitely. When you say that it's all about what the parents are going to think about us, what the classmates are going to think about, or our friends, all the social circles, or friends of friends, it's about image, you know, what you're going to portray to the people around you. So I think on an individual level, first of all, it's about self-esteem that needs to be absolutely so strengthened and so strong that nothing is going to bother you. Secondly, this is the thing that I'm now going to say is going to talk to all the parents, especially who are having a hard time with their kids, kids who are probably in depression or probably, you know, harming themselves even. Yes. So rather than, I feel like culturally over here in this area, I want to say Pakistan too, it does get, parents do tend to get angrier quicker as compared to others. It's all right, my parents get angry as well, but I want you to take a moment and try to understand the child. But rather than the chitrol, rather than, you know, hitting them, I want speak to them, understand them, because as a person, it's not easy for them to pick up a knife or to pick up a blade for that matter. And especially if they're doing it in secrecy, it is definitely not easy. It takes a lot of courage. It takes all that you have to take the decision to cut yourself, watch yourself bleed, then, you know, sort of cover the, you know, injury whatsoever. Please talk to them. And if you're a friend of such a person, if you see arms or legs harmed, because I saw a leg harmed and I had to convene with one person.
We saw an arm harmed.
Right.
Well.
So if you see something like that, please speak to them. Don't make fun of them in public. Take them on a side. If they don't want to open up, if they don't want to open up, just tell them, hey, I want to sit with you. I want to talk. Let me know when you have time. Let's talk. Just be there for them. It's very important.
And you know what? This is Sigma rule number 1, ladies and gentlemen, that you really need to kind of, even if you're giving, I mean, if it's a compliment, you can do it publicly, but if you need to tell somebody, hey, you know what, this shirt does not look good on you, or probably, you know, your shoes needs to be polished or something of that sort, please make sure that you do it while they're all by themselves. You know, don't do it in front of the public, because then you're not helping them, rather you're pushing them towards more dangerous situation as well.
Absolutely.
Now what I want you to talk about, okay, you know, so let's talk about how our parents, Shiza, in the first place, actually made sure that we will have that self-esteem where nobody's going to bog us down. So imagine as a kid when our parents were struggling and were trying to give us a good life, alhamdulillah. So imagine that, you know, we didn't have enough money or enough resources that I couldn't take a burger and that too for lunch every single day.
Of course.
So my mother would make me a paratha and an egg, and she would tell me that, hey, you know what, only the strong boys eat a paratha and an egg.
That's so sweet.
And no matter what happens, you know, make sure that you own this paratha and an egg, because this is something which your parents are trying to share with you. And that's what I exactly did. While growing up, obviously everybody wants to kind of have a burger or a chana chaat or a cold drink or, you know, something. You know, every kid fantasizes, okay, what am I going to take for tomorrow? You know, so what happened was that eventually 10 or 12 of my friends ended up having anda paratha in break time.
Wow.
And it was beautiful, because when you stand by your values, ladies and gentlemen, nobody will ever be able to put you down. And not just that, please make sure that you always have a heart which is saying thank you to Allah Almighty every single day. And even if you are in distress, please make sure that you hold patience. Ladies and gentlemen, is a talent. That's something I kind of keep on talking about. And Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, you know, that the only distance in between you and paradise is basically this sabr, and everybody needs to have it, which is why I'm going to come down to you. Now the problems are very different because of modern parents. The way we were growing up, or the way our parents kind of looked after us, not that they said no to us, but unfortunately there were resources which were not probably in our favor. You know, in fact there were no resources. You know, so let's talk about that. Now the nurturing or the grooming of the child is very different. With all of us being parents, I would never hit my daughters. I would never do that. Even my father never did that as well. So, you know, I kind of want to follow those footsteps. But there has to be somebody who needs to kind of behave like a monitor for children, so that, you know, one parent, they can share everything, and one parent, they know that, God forbid, if we are going to step outside the line, okay, mom's going to beat us. What do you have to say about that?
I guess you have covered it very beautifully over here, that the openness the parents need, that is a must for the present generation. As you have quoted the Islamic quotation as well, and I would like to, Hazrat Ali also quoted that don't try to raise your children
the way you were being raised.
The way you were being raised. So that just explains everything, that these kids are not for that times when we were being raised. So we have to understand the challenges they are going to come across. They have new challenges, they have new competitions, they have increased stimulation, they have number of resources. They have to cope all of those things in just 24 hours. And we have so little resources, and we have to use them for 24 hours. So they have to compensate every area in every domain of their life in that just 24 hours. So that if I am going to give you some task and I give you 30 minutes and I give you 30 more tasks, then you will feel pressured. And that is true for that adolescent, and he is in that age where he is unable to handle. He has not learned how to handle these stresses, so he is going to be frustrated. So what we have to do is we have to figure out what are the stresses, what are the challenges the child is facing. And the first thing, the parents could do something in that, because they don't don't know, we cannot rely on their social circle alone, because parents are have the guiding force. We don't know the social circle will drive them in any way, anywhere around. So we can't control that, but parents can control the way they are going to upbringing, on their upbringing, on their values they are going to teach, on the cultural values, on the moral and ethical values they are going to teach. And the first thing is they have to be real friends of their children, I would like to say.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for saying that, because, you know, towards the end, that's one thing which I'm going to ask, and that is that, you know, so for example, we wake up every day in the morning, you know, we sleep at night, you know, it's going to be rainy, it's going to be sunny, either it's going to be cold, so there's all sorts of weather which we have to live through. And what I believe is that, you know, not every single day you will be the happiest. You know, so it's life, you know, there will be occasions when unfortunately you will be sad, there will be occasions when you'll be happy. So there needs to be a fine balance in between, knowing that, okay, you know, yeah, being sad is a part of life as well, and it will get better. Let's just sleep on that. So for somebody who's just looking to be happy every single moment, alhamdulillah, I hope and pray that may you stay happy like that. But that's just not natural then. You know, imagine that if I'm jumping on the sofa every single day, hey, you know what, I'm really happy, I'm excited. You know, that cannot happen. It's not natural.
Is it healthy?
That's equally not healthy.
Yeah, so that's what I wanted to ask.
Yes. So we could suggest that the balance of that communication, the balance, decorum will be there. The parents don't have to jump with their kids and they have to be friends in their adolescence.
Yeah.
At younger age, you could do that with your daughters. but in that age, the decorum will be there. It is not that if we are going to listen to someone, we are going to lose respect for that relation. So that is not going to be true. But the thing is that parents have to give space to their children. So they can listen to their problems and they can communicate and advise them better. And it is of two folds. Parents used to think that we have just emotionally supporting them and we are going through a lot. So in adolescence, you could share your miseries, you could share your bad days with them, and it is going to help you as well.
And that's exactly what my daughter did yesterday as well. So she came back from school and she said, Dad, you know, the Hardee's you brought yesterday, my friends ate it. And I was like, hey, you know what, you never got a chance to eat a single strip of chicken? She was like, no. So I was like, okay, so why does it make you sad? She said that I was willing to share and I shared it with everybody. I went to wash my hands, came back, it was gone. I was like, it's okay, you know, we can get some more. And then we continue to share. I think that's what the message was, that, hey, you know what, even if somebody ate it, they might be more hungry than you. So that's it. I mean, please make sure that you certainly give them an outlook of a world where everything is bright.
Definitely, but thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for being so informative. It was
pleasure.
absolutely brilliant. We'd love to have you again, inshallah. Ladies and gentlemen, just do remember towards the end, any time that you're going through, good or bad, it shall pass. So be prepared for the next, be happy for what you're going through, and you'll be set, inshallah. We'll see you tomorrow again at the same time.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Good morning.